This is a 1971 Citroen DS-21, and it's what you get when you let an Italian sculptor and a French aeronautical engineer design a car.
And if the styling isn't enough French weirdness for you, it also has a 4-speed, clutchless manual transmission, and the brake is a button. I don't know. How hard can it be? For all of its quirks and eccentricities, half a dozen levers, turn signals that don't self-cancel, there's almost something romantic about a car like this. All the odd choices that they made just make you love it more. It has to be one of the favorite cars I've ever driven. Aaron.
Christopher, what's going on, man?
How are you, sir?
Good. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Good to see you.
Beautiful day in Annapolis
It
you
is
chose, man.
Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the view, the weather.
I know
we
you
could not
can't
have
beat this time of the year.
picked a better day.
And a beautiful car you chose.
Oh, I mean, every detail about this vehicle, they are not messing around.
The shades in the back.
Yeah, for reasons.
Yeah, that we don't know,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Looks cool. You can't see out of it at all.
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say not good for backing up,
looks
but
great.
that's fine. This thing is beautiful though. How does it drive?
Like a dream.
Really?
I mean, I've got a new Land Rover Defender with the air suspension, and it's like on that level, and it's 60 years old. So
I was gonna say, just to have a car like this consistently starting up is impressive.
is a good day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, you want to go for a ride?
Let's do it,
Let's
man.
do it. So you're obviously somewhat of a car person with Mercedes and
Yep.
interest in Land Rovers and things. So what's the dream car? Like, what do you?
So
do you
I
have anything?
actually got one of my dream cars already, and I'm probably about to be getting rid of it soon, but it was an Audi R8.
Oh,
And so
very
I
nice.
got it. It was a 2015 when it was like my splurge. I don't splurge on a lot of stuff for myself, but I remember looking at it and it was like the exact color combo, like everything that I'd wanted. And I was like, man, I don't know if I need this. I was like, but am I ever really gonna need it?
I've been told by more than one person that I have resting serious face, so I always try and have like a little smirk when I'm driving, so I don't just look like I'm mad.
I probably have a little bit of that myself, but that's because I'm just dealing with a lot of people work-wise during the day that annoy me constantly.
Yep, 100%.
I think slowly over the years I've gotten more and more resting serious face. It didn't used to be this bad.
No, it's like earned. you
Yeah.
know? Like that's one of those things. The further you are in your career, the more that serious face develops.
That's no question. Then you get into retirement probably and it goes away a little bit. And you'd never been to Annapolis before, had you?
I hadn't. This is my first time.
You know what's funny is I talk to clients from like all over the country, and anytime I say Annapolis, most of the time they're like, oh my God, we have like a friend there. We've been there before. Like, we love it. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I did not know that many people have actually made a trek out to Annapolis for whatever reason.
So what drew you into this business? Because everyone I've talked to seems to have such an interesting path.
Yeah. I would definitely say it was interesting. It was kind of, I fell into it, honestly. Like, I did not have an intention of going and becoming a financial advisor. Truthfully, like, I didn't even know what a financial advisor technically meant.
Who did in college?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I got out of college with an economics degree from University of Maryland from College Park here. Like most people, was applying for jobs for the next 6+ months, wasn't hearing a lot of responses. I just figured I'll apply to anything that said financial to it, right? Financial analyst, like any one of those jobs. Finally, my brother was living out in Hawaii at the time, actually, and so he had said, hey, there's this company out here, they're called Wealth Strategy something or other, right? He's like, they always seem to be hiring. He's like, why don't you just send in an application? Like, they always have an ad up. So I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, if you get it, you can come out here and live with me for a while. So I ended up sending them a resume and an application. It was like 8 p.m. at night East Coast time, so like 2 p.m. Hawaii time. I get a phone call immediately after submitting the application because, again, I didn't realize it's for a financial advisor position, which technically had a sales aspect to it.
Sure.
So they immediately were like, all right, great. Yeah, we'll have you out for an interview anytime. I was like, okay.
So not the worst assignment for learning the business. Like, come on out to Hawaii.
Definitely could have been worse. We had a beautiful atmosphere to live in. It was very fun for the year that we were out there. You almost get a little bit of guilt when you're out there because you're sitting in an office all day long and it's beautiful outside every day. So like the people out there, I can see that.
There's almost like an element of like, it's right there, but it's not.
But you can't go and enjoy it. That's what I said. Very different working out there than it is when you're vacationing out there. But yeah, so we were there for about a year, and then he ended up taking a different job that was moving him to Dallas at the same time that our parents were going through some health trouble, and so I wanted to move back to the East Coast. And that was when I had transitioned and started working at Morgan Stanley at that point. And so it was from working at Guardian for about a year and a half to then going to Morgan Stanley back in the Baltimore area and sort of learning the way that they do things and going through their training program, or sort of lack of a training program, I would call it, in the big wirehouses. But that was
just
kind of the
throw
start.
you to the wolves and you figure it out kind of situation.
That's exactly how it was, basically. It was, here's a phone, here's a computer, now go dial people. Good. Yeah, is this, I was going to say, first grapefruit crush?
It is my first grapefruit crush, and it's delicious.
They are good.
Walk me through then how we go from the behemoth of Morgan Stanley to Modern Capital, because that was not an overnight move.
No, so it was, again, kind of an odd transition. Like, I had gone through a couple of years being at Morgan Stanley in their, they call it their Financial Advisor Associate program, kind of like their training program. They don't really teach you a lot, especially in the ways of like how to go get new clients. They taught you a little bit of training of just the overall business, but as I'd gotten to the end of 2 years and you don't meet like their production quotas that they have, they're basically like, all right, well, move on, And so at that point, that was when I was questioning. I was like, is this something I still want to do? Like, do I want to go and try and find that financial analyst type of job, basically, and just have a normal salary, like normal life, basically, at that point? And I knew a guy who ran a good, pretty large independent practice here, so not affiliated with like a wirehouse, but on the independent side, and did retirement planning, and that was all that he focused on. So he went around, did seminars, like that was how he did his marketing. And he basically was just talking to me while I had that little bit of a break, and he was like, look, I'm not gonna pay you a salary, like not gonna like help you, but he's like, I have an open office in, he had the whole floor of his office building in downtown Annapolis here. He was like, if you want to take it, you can kind of just learn by osmosis.
That then exposed you to a business where you're actually working with people, not just trying to sell them products.
Correct, exactly. Yeah. So that was the nice thing, was then you feel like you're actually working with people, right? And you're trying to get them to their goal of retirement. So we were the traditional brick and mortar financial advisory firm, and then COVID happened. right? And
Yep.
so COVID for me and now for Modern Capital was kind of like this weird happy accident almost. Like I feel bad even saying it kind of.
I think a lot of people feel that way though. Like,
Yeah.
obviously it was a hard time and really interesting challenges, but so many unique things happened in people's careers and the way things evolved.
Yeah, it just changed so much. Like what we do today would not have worked without COVID happening. So when COVID happened, we obviously couldn't go out, we couldn't do seminars, we couldn't market, we couldn't even have clients come into the office and talk to us. So at that point, I had to figure out, well, how am I still going to do business? How am I still going to market in some way? And so I had found a marketing company that basically helped me take the things I was doing in normal seminars and workshops and things and put it online basically in sort of like a webinar type of format. That was the first exposure to ever doing a virtual meeting. Like I had never done GoToMeeting, Zoom. I didn't know about any of it at that point. But we did it. We fumbled our way through like the things that broke
As we all
along
did.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we figured out, I still remember, it was probably a few months into doing virtual meetings, but the first time that somebody in a totally different state that I had never met with in person was like, all right, I'm good. Like, let's do the rollover call or whatever it was we were doing. And I was
Cool.
like, you gotta be kidding. I was like, somebody is gonna
Really?
roll over $1 million to let us manage it, and they've never met me before in real life.
Wow.
And that was like one of those moments where I was like, man, maybe there is something
Maybe
to
we're
this.
onto something.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was really that pivotal point where I was like, man, maybe this is something that will work. Yeah, so that was kind of the crazy thing was like when COVID had ended and I thought we were all going to go back to just, meeting with clients in the office and kind of going back to like doing business as usual basically. And we were inviting clients in, and they were like, you know what? It's
We're good.
actually good. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we can just do a quick 10, 15 minute Zoom call. We just have a quick question. We don't want to drive 20 minutes into the office and park and have to put on clothes. I'm like, but you guys don't miss seeing me in person? I was like, I thought that was a whole part of this relationship. And they're like, no, we love you, but, we're fine. Like,
It's
we can
the
do
true, it's not you.
this. Yeah.
It's me.
They're
Yeah.
like, we would rather just do this from sitting on our couch. And I was like, look,
I
I
get it.
can't blame you for that.
I'm not trying to lead you down a path here, I don't think. Because I know you've done a lot of work to make processes simple for your clients. But what are some maybe misconceptions about the industry that you've had to overcome as an advisor, either yourself or with your clients?
Yeah. I think the misconception is either you have to almost like overcomplicate things in a way. Like, I don't know, when I first got into the industry, especially being very young getting into the industry, that was sort of the crutch that you lean on in a way, was you want to make people think that you're smart, right? And that you know maybe more than they do about financial stuff.
And if it's super simple, how smart could you be?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would they hire you, right, to do this if it's this simple thing? And so you kind of, as financial advisors, I think we can always tend to overcomplicate things that don't require it. And what I found was in doing that in the early stages, that was what turned clients off. And you don't end up getting clients, you lose people. And it's actually been the exact opposite of that, that when you oversimplify stuff and you take things that in our world might be somewhat complex, but you have the ability to distill it down and make it very easy to understand, that was what ended up getting people on board.
Well, I think there's also an element too, sometimes, where it's like, complicated's actually easy,
Yeah.
simple's really hard.
It is.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, it takes, I realized, a decent amount of talent to be able to take some stuff and be able to simplify it. And that's kind of the challenge we always have now, is anytime we're thinking about how can we explain this concept, or how's the best way to go about this marketing piece, or how should we speak to clients about this concept, it's always in a way of how can we make it easier and easier and easier to understand, to where anybody, even my 11-year-old daughter, would be able to understand it. And usually when we get it to that point, that's when we end up having a lot of success with it.
One of my favorite things to ask people is, this whole business is about making other people's lives different and better. How has being an advisor changed you?
It's honestly crazy. I mean, one, the career allows us to earn a good income, but the ability to be able to help people with something that in their life is one of the scariest, like biggest transitions that they'll ever make.
Yeah.
I still remember, I think the first client that I ever brought on was a female, and she ended up coming on board and she was like, I just feel comfortable. She's like, you've taken this thing that to me was such a scary transitional, like pivotal moment in my life and just made it seem like easy and that I don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's cool.
And I think the getting to hear that over and over again is kind of the coolest thing that we do. It's like the most impactful thing, because a lot of times you can have clients that don't necessarily aren't as grateful as other clients maybe, right? And if the market's up, you don't get those calls saying, hey, great job. And if
Right,
the market's
yeah, no.
down, right, you might get yelled at occasionally. But it's the people that are really, really appreciative of the work that you do and that you made them feel comfortable during a transitional period in their life like that. Like, there's honestly no greater feeling than that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, the last question I have for you may be the most important. In thinking about your own financial plan and future, are you now going to run out and add buying a French car to...
From a financial decision standpoint, I don't know if it would be my first decision. But from a happiness standpoint, I might have to do it, honestly.
It might get you there.
I think I should. That might be my next vehicle purchase.